Historically, this channel has been about art and less about the artists making it. But I have to talk about Dave Blunts. I am so confused by this man. The only thing I can really think to do is to record some of my thoughts about it and put it on the internet, because that's what we do in a healthy society, I guess. For the uninitiated, Dave Blunts is a rapper, singer, grew up in Iowa, I believe, who has been popping off lately on TikTok and Instagram because of a lot of factors, which we are going to talk about. I'm just going to ramble for a bit, and hopefully this comes together, okay? Give me a sec here. As we get into this, please like, please subscribe. Check out the Patreon if you really end up enjoying the video. Means the world to me if you do that. I was stuck up in a hospital bed. Like many people, my introduction to Dave Blunts was through TikTok. Because of my passion for hip-hop, I tend to be introduced to new artists on TikTok and Instagram and things pretty quickly. Dave Blunts came across my feed, I think, relatively early in his blowing up. I think it was his video for The Cup that came across my feed probably about a year ago. And then there was all this crazy news about this very strange figure on the internet who was getting all of this attention suddenly. I want to make very clear, kind of at the top of this, I don't know Dave Blunts. And because of that, I'm going to refrain from passing any serious judgments about his character or him as a person, because like I said, I don't know him, but it feels like we need to take a serious look at how we consume art and how we treat artists. I guess I'm worried about Dave Blunts. Boom. Okay? Cool. Got it. Worried about him as a fellow human being on this planet. I'm concerned about Dave Blunts, even though I don't know him, even though we aren't friends. Perhaps that's parasocial of me, but I can't help but feel some degree of empathy for the figures on the internet, I guess. What to say? What to say about Dave? Shortly after seeing some TikTok video he made about The Cup, I saw another one for In a Hospital Bed. Honestly, banger. Killer track. But, fuck, dude. Dave Blunts is so confusing. Dave Blunts is still relatively early in his career and popularity. He's already released so much music. I think in 2024, he released like 3 EPs and 2 albums. He's just cranking out music. And then he just put out another album a couple weeks ago. This is being recorded on the 30th. Yeah, he put out an album on the 18th, so a couple weeks ago. As someone who had only been kind of tertiarily aware of Mr. Blunts, I decided to check out the record. And then I was also aware that his tour is starting. I believe it started just this week, actually. He's playing in my city on Friday, 2 days from now. I was 100% planning to go. And then after listening to the most recent record, after only having really heard the songs that were on social media and were getting big there, I knew Dave could be a little problematic. But oh no, I decided I can't really justify going to see this show. I will defend until the day that I die that the art and media you consume is not necessarily indicative of your values or your politics or whatever. But I couldn't in good conscience buy a ticket for the Dave Blunts show on Friday. And here's why. The new album, in addition to just not being very good, in my opinion, has a lot of problematic language all across it. And I think to really understand that, we kind of have to look into Dave's social media presence from the past little bit, because the man is an enigma. The man is an enigma. He's confusing. I'm not sure how I actually feel about his persona that he puts out to the world. There's a level of contrivance with any of this stuff. Things that we put on social media, we generally put out for a reason. We're like, hey, this is the image of me I want to portray to the world. It's not someone else taking these videos and these pictures of us. I am putting this out because I think that this is a good look for me, I guess. I don't fucking know. I don't know if Dave Blunts is a comedian. I don't know if Dave Blunts is 100% serious. I don't know if Dave Blunts is aware either way. Let's get into it. I want to talk about Dave Blunts' history according to himself, at least partially. And a lot of this info about his past, I just kind of took from the DJ Vlad interview that happened, I think, about a month or 2 ago. I think growing up, Dave Blunts was troubled. I think if you hear him tell his story, despite how blasé and nonchalant he can come across about it, there are definitely things in there where it's like, that sounds like maybe some unresolved trauma Who knew? He talks a lot about struggling in school, both in this interview and a lot in his music. He dropped out during his senior year. He didn't have enough credits to graduate. He tried to get his GED. He couldn't focus, and he failed. According to his music and interviews, Dave was put in an IEP in school, an individual education program, which is generally something for special needs students. He talks about struggling with math and reading and writing. I think, unfortunately, our education system might have failed Dave in some ways. But at the same time, he's doing really well, right? Making music. He's getting money as well as he's doing. I wish the school system could have better accommodated Dave. I'm not going to say that Dave Bluntz is dumb. He presents himself relatively eloquently, but he does seem to not be super well informed on a lot of things. And maybe I've just kind of a limited worldview. We'll get back to that later. Dave apparently always wanted to go into entertainment in some fashion, wasn't exactly sure what that would look like, and then started making music on his iPhone. Someone he knew in school said, hey, your music's good, but you need a much better mix. He started spending a bunch of time in the studio. Apparently he popped off in Mexico before anywhere else. He released so much fucking music. It's too much music even. And here we are. He made a TikTok. He put out a couple songs. Those got him big pretty much instantly on TikTok. He started popping off immediately. I think he'd been working on it for 2 or 3 years, like before he really ever started putting it out to the world. So good on you, Dave. He did a single Babytron show after pretty much only blowing up on social media, and then really came into public attention when he performed at the Juice WRLD Memorial Show. Being a big fan of Juice WRLD, you can hear it in his music for sure. Now, a lot of well-known musicians have kind of noticed Dave Bluntz and put him on even more. Lil Yachty kind of gave him a bit of a cosign. SZA liked something that he did. Snoop Dogg kind of beefed with him after seeing the footage of him performing sitting down on oxygen. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, as it were. And please do not get the wrong idea about that. I do not want to make any jokes about Dave Bluntz's weight. Actually, and I don't want to see any in the comments. In fact, I will delete any jokes about Dave Bluntz's weight in the comments. I know that that's a really common thing for people to attack him for. Obesity is a significant struggle for a lot of people, in particularly the US. I view it as more a societal failing than any individual fault. Is it possible that Dave Bluntz could lose weight? Yeah, but I don't know his circumstances. I don't want to make any snide comments about his weight. But it cannot be denied that Dave Bluntz is at an unhealthy weight. A lot of people can live a little bit heavier and be perfectly happy. Based on Dave Bluntz's time in and out of the hospital, struggles with asthma and a heart condition, he's not doing well. He's not healthy. There are other reasons for that. We'll get into those as well. But Dave Bluntz is a big guy. Dave Bluntz talks about stepping on a scale and seeing 600 on his most recent record, which, he's a big guy. He's a really big guy. It's not that I'm worried about, like, an example to the kids or anything in this case. I actually don't think that most people would see someone like Dave Bluntz and be like, yeah, that's a way I should live. I'm more worried about the target it makes him for online vitriol. People are really comfortable being really mean with the depersonalization of the internet. And I don't think he deserves it. I really don't. I would love to see Dave at a healthier place. Once again, I don't know the guy. It's hard for me to put all of these thoughts out and make them coherent. Another thing, the song The Cup is about his love of promethazine, or lean, which has killed a lot of people, rappers especially. It's not healthy. He talks about his weight. He talks about his drug use a lot on the most recent record, and even more about drug use on earlier records. Less about his weight, though, it seems. I don't know how to explain this to you if you have not been watching him. This was mostly his past, his history, a little bit of stuff about Dave Bluntz. Let's talk about the music. Let's talk about the social media persona. Let's talk about the artist associations, because there's a few really big things to address here. Okay. Dave Bluntz's music has something of a formula. He's going to talk about his weight. He's going to talk about getting head. He's going to talk about women by name who have wronged him. He's not going to change names. He's going to just talk about people in his life in a weirdly personal way. And then he's going to make remarks that are easily construed as homophobic. Uh-oh, white guy's going to talk about homophobia and hip-hop. Who'd have thunk? It's been done to death. I am not the right guy to talk about it. Go watch an FD Signifier video. That dude's the GOAT. We'll touch on all of these. The thing I want to start with is Dave Blunt's relationship with women. Because it's weird. On pretty much every record, he picks a few women by name and talks about how they've hurt him. The most recent record, talking about Solar and Isabel, who are people I don't know. But based on what I've seen, it looks like there are pictures of him and Solar together, maybe pictures of him and Isabel together, but these are two women that, for one reason or another, their relationships did not work out with Dave Blunt. The way he talks about it is concerning and weird. It seems like Dave maybe is a little socially awkward and maybe has a little bit of internalized misogyny. In one of the interviews, he talks about taking pictures of himself in the hospital and sending them to women in hopes of getting sympathy nudes, which is insane, really insane, and not cool. Not cool. If people are sending nudes to each other, that's their prerogative, you know? Adults will be adults. They can do that stuff. It's commonplace in relationships. But Dave here kind of admits to manipulating women? That's kind of gross. And it seems like a lot of his relationship struggles are from him feeling slighted by women not giving him what he wants all the time. Now, once again, I don't know these people. I don't know Dave Blunt. But even to hear him talk about it, it sounds like, yeah, I don't know why these women would be interested in you when you treat them the way that you do. Now, when you get famous, that kind of thing changes a little bit. And maybe you have a little more play despite whatever else. But then there's power dynamics with that, and it becomes weird again. In fact, very recently on social media, just prior to his tour starting, I think it was on Sunday, maybe Saturday, he posted a bunch of pictures with a woman on Instagram and had some odd things to say about it, talking about how she didn't cook for him, but then she did cook for him, and calling her a bitch, and all of these weird things. And then on social media the next day, as his tour starts, he talks about breaking it off with this girl. It's so odd, it's so confusing, and like so much of Dave's social media presence, it's hard to know what's genuine. But we'll get back to the social media more later. More stuff about his music. He talks a lot about lean. Like a lot. And in interviews, he will claim that he's making steps to get off of lean, but then like in his DJ Vlad interview, it seems like there's not actually anything in his cup that he like sips on over the course of the video. Who knows? I hope Dave is not doing as much lean as he will claim. But once again, there's a social media side of that we'll get back to later. But he talks a lot about it in the music. Dave Blunt talks a lot about getting head and how successful he is in just casual sex. But then in the same album, we'll say, hey, I'm just kind of talking big. I don't actually get what I say. I'm a simp, I'm a trick, I'm a cuck, which is insane to say about yourself on record. But, you know, here we are, Dave Blunt. A lot of his way of presenting this stuff does kind of come across as maybe traditionally misogynist in a way that hip-hop is not as much right now, but that's a whole other can of worms. The thing I really want to talk about from Dave's music is the thing that I see the most criticism of him for online. And this is going to lead us into the social media thing, and that is his bars about LGBTQIA plus people. Man, Dave uses the F slur in his biggest hit, in a time when you don't hear that word very much in music anymore. When I was growing up, it felt like half of songs had that word in them. Even a lot of stuff that got radio play back in the day had that word. And for Dave Blunt to throw it out so regularly is a little bit shocking. I recently put out a video talking about how transgressive art has value. And I think Dave Blunt's music could definitely be considered transgressive in a lot of ways that I talk about. But my conclusion of the video was, hey, this is probably a bad time to be doing that sort of thing, because it can read as punching down. And Dave is often just punching down. Here's where I think the main part of most people's concern comes in about Dave Blunt. This approach to LGBTQIA plus peoples has created a perhaps less than stellar fan base for Dave Blunt. to get to the social media side of things, if you look through any comments underneath a Dave Blunt post, he just posted a picture of him in front of a pride flag. There were a lot of really unsavory comments underneath it of people being like, hey, don't do this. This is gross. Ew. There's a lot of particularly insensitive things said about trans people on the most recent record. And you can definitely see the type of people that attracts inside of those comments. It's gross. It's really gross. But I want to repeat again, I don't know Dave Blunt's, and I'm not going to claim that he's a bad person here. Because I know a lot of people in my life who definitely are insensitive to trans people, but I wouldn't call them bad. I'd call them ignorant. And I think it's really easy for the more progressive people in leftist spaces to instantly bash on that. But I think it's really important to kind of meet people where they are so that we can understand where this lack of understanding comes from, and we can deal with these issues in a way that actually creates more empathy and love. If you do not have any trans friends in your life, they are people. And that's it. They're people, and they should be treated like people with the same kindness you'd treat any other person. And if your typical reaction to people is not to treat them with kindness, look inside yourself. Call them by the pronouns that they ask. Call them by the name that they want to be called. Even if you don't understand it, it doesn't hurt you in any way. And if you become friends with a trans person, hopefully you can understand a little bit more what they go through. Life is not made any easier by being trans, especially not in the US these days. But yeah, Dave Blunt uses some transphobic language, and that has attracted kind of a bad fan base. I think Dave Blunt would say, I'm not homophobic, I'm not transphobic. And I think he believes that, genuinely. I think he thinks he is not homophobic. I think he thinks he is not transphobic. In the same way, a lot of offensive people don't really recognize what their words do. As I've talked about before, when I was a teenager, white kids saying the N-word was much more commonplace. And I think most of those kids would not have been like, yeah, I'm racist. Some of them would have, because they're edgy or maybe genuinely were. But I think most people would have been like,
well, this is what, my favorite rappers say.
It's just a word, bro.
I don't actually mean anything by it.
Then at the same time, they don't recognize the impact of those words, and it causes offense, and it hurts people. And that's what Dave Blunt has done a lot of. Like I said, I don't want to claim Dave Blunt is a bad person, because I'm not convinced that he is. But I think he's ignorant, and I think it would probably benefit him to maybe know some trans people, because I think it's pretty clear that he doesn't know any. And I think it's also probably pretty clear that he doesn't really know any out gay people either, because I think his language would change if he did. Yeah. On a slightly lighter note, an interesting thing that's been happening in the Dave Blunt social media sphere lately is he's been talking a lot about being healthier, being more clean in his music, trying to put out more positivity to the world. And this was all kind of in lead up to that most recent record that came out a couple weeks ago. Lots of posts of him pensively looking at a water bottle. Like a lot of them. Yeah, there's so many pictures of Dave Blunt's looking at water. Talking about wanting to change, wanting to improve. A lot of Dave Blunt's branding is around purple stuff and changing it to healthy stuff, which I think might have been just a direct response to something that DJ Vlad said in an interview to him, where he talked about how the tracksuit, jumpsuit thing he was wearing said purple stuff and not healthy stuff on it. I don't know how much of that was a joke. I don't know how much of it was Dave Blunt's really trying to make an effort to change. He talked about going on stage and not wanting to say swear words, but then doing it, and it's like, hey, this isn't going to happen in the future. We're not going to say swears. Dave Blunt's no swearing arc. And then the album came out, and that was just blatantly not true. Blatantly. He even did a little teaser video before it where he plays a principal of a school. It is certainly a video that I have now seen, unfortunately. And it's very clear, I think, from that video that Dave Blunt has a lot of creative control over the stuff he does, because I can't see a label having written that video and being like, yeah, this is good, let's put this out. I think he retains a lot of artistic control, which makes all of this maybe even more confusing. It's insane. Yeah. It's been really interesting to watch him do all this, and have it not mean anything, apparently. With all of this, I want to address another thing. Dave Blunt's is fucking funny. Dave Blunt's is really funny, and I think this is the main reason that he's attracted people to him. Like, he has some bars that are so hilarious and truly out of pocket, in a way that I think would play really, really well if he could just tame some of the rougher edges. For instance, his tour that he's going on right now, famously, due to his size, Dave Blunt performs sitting down. Understandable. Perfectly understandable. If you're that big, yes, it's much easier for you to perform sitting down. I would rather you perform sitting down and sang your heart out than you ran around that stage and could only, make it for like 5 minutes. It's fine. That doesn't actually bug me at all. He named the tour the Standing for What I Believe tour, which is so funny. It's so genuinely self-aware and very funny. I love that, right? And I would love to see Dave Blunt just be like a funny dude with pipes who writes some catchy-ass music. When I first heard Dave Blunt's music, I was like, this is catchy. Dude can actually sing. Like, as much as the stuff that he puts out is, auto-tuned to hell, if you ever hear him, like, in an interview or something, like, start singing a song, yeah, Dave Blunt can actually sing. It's cool. It's really cool. And he's written some crazy earworms. I can't put down the cup. I can't put down the cup. It's catchy. It's fun. If only it could be more consistent and less offensive. I just want to see a cool artist who genuinely has some talent make good music that puts more positivity into the world than negativity. And I think currently Dave Blunt stuff puts more negativity into the world than positivity. I listen to a lot of his music in preparing to stand up here and talk about it for this video. It's so confusing. It's so confusing to listen to it and not know how serious this guy is, right? Sometimes it's is it all just a comedic act and he's playing to an audience that has given him some attention? Because it's very clear based on the way a lot of his early music went that he very much tries to please his audience, right? He talks about gaining his first big following in Mexico. And then pretty much all the EPs he releases after that are very related to that in weird ways. Yeah, kind of interesting, kind of strange. So, there's a part of me that's oh, he's attracted some transphobic and homophobic fans. Is he just saying this stuff because he knows that they're going to scream it back to him at a show? It's hard to know. It's hard to know how genuine a guy like Dave Blunt is. And like I said, I don't know Dave Blunt. If I had an opportunity to sit with him, I would love to talk about it, because a lot of the interviewers that I've seen talk to him have been like, hey, you're big. You sip lean. They'll address those things with him and ask him questions about it. But I would love to ask him more about how he feels about those communities and try and ascertain whether or not we actually believe some of these things, what he feels. Because in a way, Dave Blunt is engaging a little bit in the right-wing grift. Oh yeah, let's talk about the right-wing grift. There's a big thing that needs to be addressed here that I really can't skip over. Hang on. I'm going to move to sitting because I've been standing for a little bit now. I need to actually look at this stuff as we go, so let's go. Promethazine, will he not fall in love? Ignore the messiness of my room. Our house is in a little bit of flux at the moment. Dave Blunt has done a bunch of work with Kanye West recently. Ye's weird. Ye's so weird, dude. Okay, Kanye West is a really controversial figure right now, and I realized that I somehow managed to keep bringing him up in videos. I don't know why that's the case. I haven't even really significantly listened to Kanye West since Kids See Ghosts, but here we are. So, as has been done by Kanye many times before, Kanye saw Dave Blunt, a new and upcoming artist, and brought him in to do a bunch of work on his music. This has been done so many times by Kanye. I think at one point Kanye claimed that Dave wrote all the lyrics on the new record. I don't know if that's true. It's so hard to know the truth of anything Kanye says these days, because dude is clearly out of his mind. It's insane. It's concerning. I don't know what's going on there. It's fucking whatever. But he brought in Dave Blunt to do a bunch of work with Kanye, and a bunch of people apparently in his circle, or maybe just online, told Dave Blunt not to do this. Understandably. I think it's hard to, especially in the industry, separate yourself when one of your heroes comes to you and says, hey, come work on this music with me, even if you disagree with a lot of his recent stuff, maybe there's a part of you that's like, hey, you know, I can help him. I can be a voice of reason. Who knows, you know, exactly how those relationships go. Once again, we don't know these people, but for Dave Bluntz to go in and work with Kanye West is problematic. It very simply is. And I'm not surprised if, you know, supposedly Dave Bluntz wrote a bunch of the problematic lines on the problematic song Cousins by Kanye West recently, which I actually have not listened to yet. So I'm going to go listen to it right now, and we'll get back to that. That was interesting. I think in a different world where Ye doesn't go on that Hitler crusade, I think this song is received very differently. It's a sad song. You can definitely hear a lot of Dave Blunt's kind of lyrical and melodic approach in this track. So yeah, definitely Dave Bluntz did a lot of work on this, aside from the parts that are vocally just him singing. For Kanye to talk about sexual trauma and Dave Bluntz to have also talked about sexual trauma in interviews and things in the past. I think what a lot of these musicians need, I think what a lot of people need is less online punditry and more therapy, man. I very simply want to see artists make good stuff, right? Kanye's work in the past has helped a lot of people. Dave Bluntz, I think, has the capacity to make music that is loved and deserves that love. I would love to see Dave Bluntz release less music. I know he's very much on that wave of just put out a ton of stuff, max the streaming numbers if he can. I would love for him to go to therapy and then really spend time working on music, right? I genuinely think with a lot of these artists that are kind of in the more like melodic rap, SoundCloud trap thing that kind of started in like 2014 to 2016, and the people inspired by that era, I would love for people to make less music, weirdly enough, right? Spend more time on your songs, develop them more. I think the music would benefit. I think you would benefit. There's so much music out there right now. Don't just put out a ton of it. Put out some really good stuff. The new album is kind of the same song over and over and over. A lot of the same bars repeated over and over and over. Same sentiments, same thoughts. I see this kind of thing and I'm just concerned for Dave Bluntz. I want dude to be healthy. I want dude to be happy. I want him to make good music because I think he's got a good voice and he could go really far if he just kind of does it correctly. You know, I'm reminded of guys like Tyler, the Creator, and the Odd Future crew, you know, when I was growing up. They said stuff that's much worse than what Dave Bluntz says now. You know? Now, the era has changed a little bit, but I think if Dave Bluntz were to genuinely make that pivot and do the, you know, whole healthy stuff thing and keep his same kind of like melodic charm and the jokes and the vulnerability in the music, I think he could make some really, really cool shit. I really do. I look forward to the possibility of having an all-time Dave Bluntz record. I think it's possible, and I want to see dude succeed at that and achieve it. You know, perhaps selfishly, just because I want that album. I want a great Dave Bluntz record. I really do. But I think that the current path that I'm seeing is not going to get us there. I really do not want us to be talking about late Dave Bluntz in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. You know, I want dude to live a long and healthy life doing his thing as an artist. Dave Bluntz, if for some reason you see this, I hope you know that I have nothing but love for you. And I want to see you succeed. I really do. And Kanye as well. Because I have a feeling that dude looks himself up on the internet. For anyone out there who's a creative as well and is making music, you know, consider this stuff in your approach. And know that you can be a force for good as an artist, right? Like I said, Kanye's work meant a lot to a lot of people. And the music that he inspired through that has also meant a lot to a lot of people, right? Your legacy as an artist is beyond just what you create yourself. It's what you inspire to be created by others. My favorite hip-hop artist, probably of all time, Childish Gambino, a lot of his work was inspired by Kanye. And the work that has meant to me and the way it has inspired my work continues to go on. So, you know, I'm a product of that. We have to address that we can do better. We can. And we need to treat people better, So don't insult Dave Blunt's in the comments. I don't think that helps. Don't insult Kanye in the comments. It doesn't help. I wish that these men had more positive circles, I guess, that were more concerned. And maybe they do, and maybe they ignore it. And that's possible too, and that's not good. Like I said, I cannot actually speak to the morality of these people. I don't know them, but like, I would just like to see the stuff that we do, the music that we put out, the music we support, be more positive.